What is the best way to start when you walk into a store and want to buy good wine? First, let's define the basic price point. If you want to buy some nice wine, the current situation in the market is such that you will need to spend $15+ per bottle. Of course, sometimes some nice young wine bought in the region where it is produced can cost a little bit less. In some countries, due to taxes, even at $15 price point, it is very hard to find a nice wine. But the base price is more or less like this. I'd say 15 euros for Europe and a little bit more in the US. What should you focus on when choosing a wine? Well, first of all, the variety of the grape is crucial, as it determines the style of the wine. A more complicated version is when you choose wine based on its terroir, that is, the place where the vines are grown. But this method is also valid and it's easier to remember which wine you like. The taste of the wine is determined not only by the grape variety, but first and foremost, for the place of origin of the vines. Quality of the wine depends to a large extent on the style of the wine, the grape variety used, and the place of production. The place determines everything, including the content of the grape varieties you may or may not like. The place of origin is always indicated on the label. Look at the legal address of the bottler on the back label. It will show you the exact location of the winery, or just read the front label. There should be some kind of indication where the grapes were grown. When you like a certain wine, don't forget to ask the consultant or find out for yourself the place where the wine was produced. It could be France, from the Loire Valley, Bordeaux, Burgundy, or even from South Africa, Paarl Valley, or some regions in Australia, I don't know, Maipo Valley in Chile. Remember this, and everything else will become secondary, because the place will determine the content of the wine in the bottle. There are grape varieties that have specific stylistic characteristics. For instance, grape varieties like Merlot, Tempranillo, and Pinot Noir are a little bit softer, less tannic wines. These can be either very simple or very aromatic, depending on the terroir and the techniques used. There are unique terroirs where these grapes varieties present themselves completely differently, turning into powerful and heavily wines, but the general idea of what Merlot, Pinot Noir and Tempranillo is, it's just soft, pleasant, sometimes simple, but generally these are considered softer wines. If we talk about Cabernet Sauvignon, it is one of the most popular grape varieties in the world. It is always a very masculine variety with a lot of alcohol, tannins and acidity. This wine is best paired with meat, and if you enjoy chewing your wine, feeling its texture, then Cabernet Sauvignon is for you. A similar variety is Malbec, which is quite powerful, bright, heavy and juicy, and it's the best to buy Argentinian Malbec or Southwest French Malbec. If you want something in between, more softer Merlot and masculine Cabernet Sauvignon, you could look at Shiraz. Although it's often thought that Australian Shiraz wines are very powerful and intense, try wines from Cahors, and you'll see what truly powerful wines can taste like, with grape varieties like Malbec and Tannat. And if you're looking for something lighter and more pleasant, a Merlot from the right bank of Bordeaux, Saint-Emilion for instance, or a Merlot from the Maule Valley in Chile, or even a good Merlot from New Zealand, Hawke's Bay, would be very enjoyable. And you should always keep in mind that wine as a beverage is meant to complement food. There is a rule: you don't drink wine, you eat wine. It's part of the gastronomy, and without food, wine can quickly become overwhelming due to its high acidity. Wine without food is very hard to drink, actually. Always keep in mind what you will be eating. Everyone has their signature dishes like poultry, fish, steaks, and there are events where you might be cooking outdoors in the upcoming season. Always think about the food you'll be having and choose your wine accordingly. Even the best wine and your favorite dish, if paired incorrectly, can make the experience dull and even lead to disappointment with both the wine and the dish, making you think, this time the wine wasn't as good as the last time. Wine pairing with food is a tricky but an interesting art. There is a misconception that red wine is for meat and white wine is for fish, and that is actually partly true, but overall it is probably only half right. There is a more precise rule which is similar to what I said but more accurate. It's called white with white, red with red. Just look at the color of the product you are preparing. White meats are generally associated with lighter proteins, delicate structures. Take the tender flesh of a scallop, which is almost entirely made of protein. You won't need a very powerful wine for that, even your favorite one. A very pale wine with a neutral aroma and fresh acidity will accentuate the subtle, delicate flavor of a scallop. For fish dishes, look for more structured wines like pale straw-colored. If you are grilling something spicy from firmer meats like halibut or tuna, opt for more juicy, fuller-bodied white wines with a light straw color, aged in oak with pleasant aromas of vanilla toast, butter, and tropical fruit. These are not only options for white meat, we still have poultry where white wines will be appropriate. But here you should look for more serious, powerful white wines. And as for one final discovery, people often say that beer pairs well with German cuisine. In fact, beer isn't the best match because it quickly fills you up, it's quite heavy. But you will be surprised if you pair it with German Riesling or a quality French Alsatian Riesling. It's very aromatic, complex, with a high level of acidity that balances out the richness of the dish and complements the flavors of the meat, despite its richness. You'll be amazed at how delicious the wine can be, even with what you thought was purely a beer dish. In Galicia, Albarino, it's a stunning grape variety that is very similar to Riesling, but has an even more complex aroma of tropical fruit, some citrus notes. When you see Albarino Rías Baixas, you can be sure you're buying one of the best white wines from Spain. And of course, the price will indicate whether you're choosing a good bottle of wine or an excellent one. Price is also a very good indicator because, as I mentioned, producing quality wines involves significant costs. It mostly relies on manual labor, so creating quality wine requires substantial investment, and any high-quality wine is expensive. Imagine you have a piece of veal, delicately pink in color, and you take your favorite powerful Cabernet Sauvignon, which is loved by many. Here's what happens. Cabernet Sauvignon, with its strong texture, turns the delicate meat into a dry rag and further dries it out. It might seem like you overcooked the meat or needed to add juicy sauce. Instead, choose a good, powerful Pinot Noir or an aged Tempranillo from Rioja or Ribera del Duero. You'll achieve the perfect combination of textures, colors, and aromas, leading to a refined pleasure. If you enjoy ribeye steaks, especially if you're a fan of meat cooked rare or medium, here you'll find wines like Cabernet Sauvignon, powerful Australian Shiraz, Malbec, or intense wines from the left bank of Bordeaux, such as Saint-Estèphe or Saint-Julien. A respectable Médoc will also work, especially if you can find a bottle labeled Cru Bourgeois. This isn't necessarily a guarantee of a very high-quality wine, but it's a reliable indicator of Bordeaux wine's quality. There aren't many of them, around 280 chateaux have this status, but it offers an additional assurance of quality. When it comes to vintage years, many people obsess over whether to buy old or young wines. Each wine type has its own aging potential. Some are meant to be drunk young, others are better aged. If you're buying a white wine, it's perfectly fine if it's very young. It'd still be an interesting wine. However, red wines unfortunately aren't always ready for drinking when young. They are created to be aged a bit to develop into more complex and serious wines, but again, it depends on the particular bottle. You can DM me if you have any wine-related questions. The contacts are in the description down below, and see you soon. Bye.